sometimes I was just like, cool, I'll just go home and myself. Okay, I mean, most of my partners felt like they had to be extra careful around me, which is very awkward because who the wants to be treated with fragility when you're horny? Definitely not me. So I've mostly been in relationships with able-bodied cis people. In these relationships, I found that it was hard for them to let go and treat me like any other person. I was mostly the first physically disabled queer woman they were dating. And I've been infantilized a lot in relationships. Sometimes you just want to be treated like a typical 24-year-old looking for intimacy and sex, right? Sometimes you don't want to be reminded of your disability. You don't want others to walk around eggshells. I found that it was hard for me to take up adequate space in these relationships, and I would often bury my disability, like try hard to, achieve able-bodiedness. And also this insecurity that they might cheat on me because I'm disabled. I'm automatically unattractive. I would find it hard to sustain the relationship with that insecurity.
It's really interesting that you say this, right? Because to me, what it sounds like is a desexualization, right? Like of you being mainly because of people seeing you only through your identity or this thing that they see as so visibly you, and then that takes over all of you, right? And I can compare that to my experience where I feel like the transgender folk in general, even non-binary folk, but trans women also get hypersexualized, right? Because of how porn portrays us, how culture portrays us, how Bollywood portrays us, how Hollywood portrays us, how, everything portrays us. When I walk out quite often, the language that I'm getting off of people is that they see me as a sex worker, which, I have no judgment for that, but why is that always the situation? So there is this kind of hypersexualization, one kind of like a personal story. I met them very recently on Grindr, and this person actually turned out to be one of my best Grindr experiences, to be honest. Like, really appreciated my body, respected me. Their internalized homophobia was not coming in the way of the day. Wow. But they saw me as this super sexual being, right? Like, it was in their language, it was in the way they were treating me, and they were just doing things like, it was like, like we were in a movie, okay? We're doing it all over this place and in different places, in this room, in that room, and it was just crazy and it was amazing. But also, I was very aware of how their language was and what kind of language they were using. It was very like that funny language.
Yeah.
And it's like constantly that. But when we're out there on the apps and everywhere, you can feel it. You can feel it very on. Let's not take any apps name in case we want to work with them at some point. But but you can see it where people are either like whoa or they're seeing you through that lens.
Yeah.
But you were telling me a little earlier about you and apps. Do you want to tell that?
Yeah. When I first discovered dating apps, I was very closeted, very cis, and I had so it's out there for the world to view. I can't hide my disability. But I was like on dating apps, I'm not gonna show my disability. I'm ashamed of my disability. I was very clear about that. I wouldn't have my crutch in those pictures. One day before meeting them, I would very cautiously message them. Okay, I walk with a crutch. I hope this is okay with you. See the language used. So much of burning of my authentic identity, right?
Yeah.
Because all of us should be proud of our bodies.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
It's really interesting you say this thing about the apps, right? And how you behave. 'Cause just, thinking about making me feel a little bit like, oh, it's a little catfishy. Like some people might think it's a little catfishy. And I really don't see it as black and white, right? Like I really see it through this paradigm of identity and trying to find this place in this world that is, in your case, like ableist, in my case, cis, in your case, both because of the intersections. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's a cis-abled world, right? So it's a bit more harder to operate. And like, for example, what I would do, and this is probably one of the reasons why I got banned off of one of these apps, is basically I use FaceApp, and FaceApp has a gender filter, and then I would use a gender filter and get my gender changed, and then I would go on these apps. Okay. And it was mainly because this is just when I was coming out, and I really just wanted to see what it felt like and explore it, because I didn't have any way of getting pictures that would allow someone to engage with me where they saw me as femme. and these pictures are out there, and the kind of attention I got was crazy. Like, I have screenshots and everything, but then I never, of course, carried on any of those conversations or intended to meet them. It was, yeah, like a selfish catfishy experiment, somewhere. It's not the same experience, but somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like we need such validation, so much, because we've just gone through so much of ableism and transphobia, and we are like, when someone gives it to us, when someone gives us the bare minimum, we're just like, okay, this is fine. Nowadays dating apps are so exhausting. I'm just like, it, I'll just go home and myself.
But yes.
Yeah.
Yes.